Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing my experience of applying for Ali Abdaal's job and exactly what I learned from it. So firstly, a little background. Around 2 months back from the time I'm recording this, one of my favorite productivity and I guess lifestyle YouTubers, Ali Abdaal, decided to open up some roles to work with him. When I saw the job application, I'm unemployed, I'm kind of looking for a job, so I'd be like, this would be super sick considering I'm at the time wanting to join his PTYA. The role I was applying for is Operations Associate for the PTYA side of things. Firstly, let's start off with, did I actually get the role or not? Drum roll please. No, I didn't actually get the role, but I've learned so much in the process of applying for it, so I thought I'd make a video to actually share the whole process. So there were 3 different stages of application from what I know of. So number 1 was the online application process, and number 2 was the sync interview, and then number 3 was the Zoom interview. Firstly, there was the online application. This was the kind of basic few questions you have to answer about yourself and the roles you expect from an online application. But what really caught my eye was the very last question, which consisted of me producing a newsletter from a deep dive Ali did about a year ago. And it was a deep dive with a guy called David Perel. David's actually quite an interesting guy. So he's a writer, podcaster, and the founder of this course called Rite of Passage. The deep dive itself is quite interesting. I've made a lot of notes when I was watching it. So it was quite a good process of actually distilling down the notes and trying to shorten and compress them just to make them and turn them into like 700 words, which was quite nice. If you want to check out the actual newsletter I made, I'll leave a link down to the Notion page I used. Okay, so my top 3 points really stuck out to me when watching Deep Dive. So firstly was David's blog creation process. David talks about how he would never write from a blank page. He says he rebels against it. He talks about how it takes about 50 gallons of sap to produce just 1 gallon of maple syrup. So similarly, this could be applied to writing. It takes a ton of intellectual sap over its highlights and different kind of notes from YouTube, podcasts, books, etc. And then begin the process of distilling and compressing to create this sap. Again, and then David talks about his way of taking feedback of the work he produces. He talks about a Cribs method, which again I'll link down in the description below, which is again quite interesting. Secondly, the serendipity vehicle. So imagine little robots as little computers which work for you automatically. When you write something or when you create a bit of content, etc., and put it out online, it will find its way into the hands of people who actually want to see your content, want to see what you write, for example. You can make something once and you have these little tiny robots working for you for the rest of your life, and then as they deliver ideas and content, serendipity happens. People start reaching out to you and you have no idea how this will impact you in the long term, but it's really past the scope of your imagination. And then thirdly, the value of writing. Here's what he had to say. What comes out of your brain when you write is what comes out of your mouth when you speak, and it's only through writing that you can start to think differently and improve your thinking. This then helps you better articulate your ideas and so become a better thinker and a speaker. I can definitely agree with, because sometimes I kind of write as I speak and then I kind of read over all these notes and like scripts and etc. And I'm like, there's absolutely no way I speak like this. And then it's only through the actual process of me rewriting, repurposing and kind of like redoing the content, making it better, I start to articulate better and I start to again speak better and write better. And then number 2, which was like literally the biggest thing for me, was I started to use Notion a bit more. The way the application was set up online wasn't very good because you couldn't highlight certain things, you couldn't highlight an actual box, that's what I mean, or have, I don't think you could have emojis or have like different text size, text font, etc. So what I decided to do is I decided to make a Notion, just have a link to the whole like, I guess, newsletter I made. Yeah, for some reason, every time I saw people talking about how amazing Notion is, I was like, yeah, nah, cap, I'm not gonna fucking listen to this. But since I've been using Notion for about like 1 to 2 months, I understand why people kind of rave about it so much. Before, I used to have notes in kind of different places. So I had some notes on Word, Excel, some on just Apple Notes, etc. And this kind of allowed me to pull these notes all into one place, because before I used to be like having some notes on this book and I couldn't really find it, but with this I've got my own little section for like a book tracker where I track all my books and again my notes for the books, which is quite cool. Yeah, also in Notion I was able to create like a little content workflow and a bunch of other stuff, which is like incredibly useful. And yeah, unfortunately Notion is not sponsoring this. I know, right? I have like 5 subscribers. Notion, what are you doing? Hit me up. Okay, and then the second part of the application process is their sync interview, which is basically you just film yourself talking in front of a camera, answering just a bunch of random questions. This was actually the first time when I kind of did one of these interviews, because I don't know, all the jobs I applied just didn't really require them. I had went to Zoom interviews straight away, and yeah, I found it quite odd. But yeah, since I guess starting YouTube, I'm getting a bit more comfortable speaking in front of a camera, even not so much, but it's a bit easier than it was before. Okay, and then finally the Zoom interview. This is where things start to go downhill. So the problem with me is, whenever I get nervous, I start to speak a bit more, and I start to talk complete amount of shit. And recently I've been watching a lot of videos on 2, 3, even 4 times the speed. So when I get nervous, or just in general, I start to speak a lot faster. And the main problem here is, the main point I'm trying to make gets diluted because I'm just chatting loads and loads of shit, which again isn't helpful, and I'm trying to work on that. So some of the points I kind of tuck away and I'm going to use for the future. Firstly, you get to train myself to actually speak a lot more slower, because it's something I just don't do, especially when I'm a bit stressed. Also, to add to this is a lot easier said than done, but I need to put a lot less pressure on myself to do well in these interviews. I'm yeah, it's cool if I get it. Also, no problem if I'm not. Another thing, I was looking at random places to stay in London, find up getting the role again, which I shouldn't have done. I should have instead focused more on actually fucking preparing for it. But on the positive note of that, I realised that you can actually filter for vegetarian and vegan households, which is quite sick. And another thing is, I wore a suit, a full suit, for the Zoom interview, which again, I probably shouldn't have done. The suit I literally put on a couple of minutes before the interview. I'm yeah, it'll be fine. Last time I wore the suit was about 2 years ago, and then apparently I've gotten a bit bigger since then. So the trousers were literally cutting off my circulations in my leg, which is really uncomfortable, which I'm pretty sure probably didn't help, but again, it's just another excuse. Okay, on that note, if you want to see a video I made about ending my procrastination when using my laptop, and have a video about it, which I'll link in the description below, or maybe I can link somewhere here.